Hey guys! I think I'm live. Merry Christmas! For those of you in Christian countries, for those of you that aren't and aren't Christian, then hello. Yeah, look, ganho. Got a little Miss Khaleesi sitting here joining me. There's Miss Khaleesi. She's got her new Christmas teddy reindeer. I'm sorry guys, I'm an hour late. I know that. But we didn't finish opening our presents and I didn't feel like I could just say everybody out of the lounge now. I have to stream. Felt like we had to finish opening our presents. But I thought that nobody would really be watching that much today. As it is Christmas Day, I thought you'd all be doing family stuff. I'm sure there's loads of people that aren't Christians watching. So I'll be doing one more broadcast before I go to India, but I might be able to in India get an internet card to be able to broadcast. So I might be able to broadcast some of the talks from India. We shall see how good it is. I won't make any promises because when I stayed in Tiru about 4 years ago, it was just shocking, the internet. It was so bad and they kept having power cuts every 2 hours. But a friend of mine says it's really improved, so that's great. I need to turn the display down. What is it? Oh, sorry about that. People are saying they can't find the link. Let me just check to see if it's working. Yeah, it's working. It's working. It's working, guys. Say hey, guys. I can see in chat. Thought that was me. Hey, are you on live? Hi, guys. I'm sorry I was an hour late. I see there are people here. I didn't think that anyone would be here. Not that many. We got 37. I will be doing it on Wednesday at the right time. And just India. Just keep checking my Facebook and keep checking my YouTube channel. Not YouTube channel, website to find out about what I'm doing. So just as an intro, welcome to live stream. I do these streams every Sunday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. French time. That's 6 p.m. French time. You have to look it up to see what time it is in your country. But please check my website to always make sure that I'm doing it that day, because some days I can't make it, and yeah, and they get cancelled. So if you check on the website under live stream, it will say. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is how you subscribe. I'm going to show you a short video now. And this will give you messages that I'm going live. So if you just put my name, Lisa Cairns, this is when you're signed in with an account. You have to have an account, a YouTube account. You click on Lisa Cairns and you press subscribe. Press subscribe. And then press the bell next to the subscribe button and put send me notifications. And that will show that I'm going live. So just put in Lisa Cairns. I'll just show you one more time. Put in YouTube, then put in Lisa Cairns. But you do have to have an account. You subscribe. So press subscribe. You have to be signed into YouTube to do this. And then the little bell, send me notifications. And it's not hard to set up an account. It's like you can do it with your email account if you've got Gmail. And then if you want to subscribe to my website, I shall say you have to subscribe to my website. You go to www.lisacairns.com, and this will give you all the information about the live events that I'm doing around the country and retreats. So you go to my website. And then you put in, it will say join the mailing list, and then put in your email and put subscribe now. You can also donate on my website for these live talks, and then you can also see my events. I've done this one now, the London one, the London talks, which was the 17th and 18th of December. But I've got coming up next in India, I'm doing talks the 30th of December till the 20th of January daily in Tiruvannamalai in India. And then I've got a retreat in Cairns, Spain, in a very beautiful venue in the mountains behind Malaga. So it'll be quite nice and sunny at that time of year. And then I have a retreat in Saint Antonin Nobevel in the south of France in June. I forget the date, 16th to 23rd of June. So all of these you can find from my website. Just my name. And here's just a funny little Christmas video to show you that I find very funny and very sweet. Oh. This is a guy and he's hitting his girlfriend's butt. And then the dog is like, "Where's my hit? Where's my hit? Look at his little face." And then this little video I find very funny as well. he's digging a hole in the garden. The owner decides to go out and catch him, and as soon as the owner goes out the door, he just lies in the hole, pretending that he hasn't dug a hole. It's a very sweet little video. I think I've showed those two before. Look what I got for Christmas, a new travel mug. I love travel mugs. Oh, my mum bought me two. I have this thing for travel mugs. She bought me this one and a silver one as well. And it looks like a nice make one. Well, this is my first attempt to drink out of it, and it has like a little switch that you switch around and you can lock it. And it says it doesn't leak. Woohoo! It doesn't leak! Auto seal. Yep, very nice. And this is what my mum bought for Khaleesi. Isn't that cute? Khaleesi! What you got? What you got, Khaleesi? Khaleesi is not happy. We had bubble wrap, you know, the stuff that pops, and it scared her. That's what happens with a little doggy from Rescue Doggy. They get scared very easily. You got all upset, didn't you? Yeah. So when I'm talking about non-duality, it really isn't about learning these concepts and becoming these concepts. It's actually coming to nothing. Coming back to nothing, because who you truly are, who's experiencing now, is not a thing. It's emptiness experiencing itself as fullness. So what's looking now, who you truly are, isn't a thing, isn't bound to anything. And it's actually about coming back to that, the movement back to that. It's not actually about taking that on board on the personal thinking level. On the personal thinking level, you can do things to improve your thinking and your outlook and your conditioning and your way of being. And that's really valid, and normally that does happen with waking up. But non-duality isn't about taking on the non-dual concepts for you. And this is really important, and this is something that keeps coming up a lot at the moment in my conversations with people, is not to try to be nobody. Like, as the person, you have to be somebody. I know that sounds really odd. Ultimately, there is nobody there, and this is a pointing back to that, the seeing that who's actually experiencing this isn't something, is this boundless freedom, is this absolute stillness that's in movement. And that's who's experiencing, that's who's listening, that's who's creating everything. But you as the person has to be you as the person. You think that often what happens is you begin to realise that you produce all these thoughts, and these thoughts are really out of line with reality. So you have, like, say, negative thinking or bitchy thinking or whining thinking or moaning thinking or victim thought thinking. So we think that what we've got to do is we've got to change that, or we begin to think that we've got to not be that. But that person that thinks, I've got to change that and I've got to not be that, is already appearing in the dream, is already an appearance. So that's already someone. And it's not that someone that's actually hearing this message. That's someone that's thinking, I know what the problem is. I know non-duality. I know it's because of me that there's a problem. That someone is part of the me dynamic, is part of the person dynamic, the illusory dynamic. Who you truly are is beyond that, is the knowing of all this that knows it instantaneously. And what's been spoken about in non-duality is the movement back to that knowing, to that sense of existence that is now, that is everywhere and non-located. But the person, the one that's thinking, oh, I need to change my thoughts or I need to do something, that's already appearing in the dream. And that's not the person that wakes up. That's not who's got to free themselves. That person is something that appears, and it doesn't need to stop appearing, that thinking mechanism. It's the seeing and the movement, the energetic movement to the boundlessness that knows that person. And so this is the very sticky point. Now that movement energetically back to boundlessness is going to profoundly change what appears in those personal dynamics and what the person thinks about and feels. It's going to change a lot of the person. And that's really beautiful, because because the person's been identified and been living an illusion that it believes that it exists and that it's the separate experiencer, it's created many bizarre thoughts and dynamics. Lots of thoughts of doership, lots of thoughts of worry and anxiety and fear, because it believes it is a separate entity that's relating to a separate world. So it creates a reality that's very out of line. So when waking up happens, there is a profound change, but that body-mind mechanism and that brain has been conditioned to think in a certain way and to respond in a dualistic way. And that person can be improved, and there can be work on that person. But in a way, while the rest of society is identified, and while you've lived an identified life, there's always going to be, in a way, identified thinking and feeling. And that's going to be something that loosens over years and over time. But on that personal level, you're not trying to take on new concepts. It's just about seeing through your original concepts and your original dynamics and seeing that that's not true. But it's not actually about taking on non-duality concepts as that person, because that's just a new religion for the person. That's just a new idea for the person. And the best thing the person can do in the personal world, in the separate world, is come more and more free of anything it thinks and it feels. Like seeing that everything it thinks and feels isn't true and isn't a reality. And just understanding the way that society works, the way that language works, and the way that our thinking works, and even in the understanding of it, will bring more peace in the personal world. But non-duality isn't actually speaking to that person. And so that person will become unbalanced if that person that believes, that person takes on the non-dual concepts and tries to be no one, tries not to be someone. That person has to be a someone. So Lisa has to be a someone. So when she's speaking to her mum about what she did yesterday or what happened or what's going to happen, she has to have an association with a Lisa in time. Now, none of that's true, and it's profoundly and deeply known that none of it's true, and that it's not a reality, but it's the way the human mind works. But in that world, Lisa has to be Lisa. And she has her particular conditioning, her particular way of being, her particular way of relating, her particular screwed upness, is in the sense of like, when I say screwed upness, I mean that as humans, like Eckhart Tolle, I remember this really beautiful saying from Eckhart Tolle. He was saying, everybody's crazy, but the difference between an enlightened person and a non-enlightened person is the non-enlightened person thinks that they're sane, where really they're crazy, where the enlightened person knows that they're crazy. They are crazy and they know they're crazy. So all of us, like humanity, have bizarre ideas, and we have bizarre conditioning and bizarre ways of responding to things. So all of that is going to change, and we can work on that, and I can talk to you about the more personal stuff. But ultimately, who I speak to, or the freedom, comes from the movement back to the stillness. It's not so much about working on your dynamics, but we can do that because it does go hand in hand with non-duality. But it's not actually that person that wakes up. But the more that you learn non-duality, the more the person begins to understand itself, and its dynamics begin to come into awareness, and it stops acting in such an identified way. But that's not really who wakes up. Who truly wakes up is this boundless freedom, the experiencer, which is experiencing the person, the world, the sunlight, the room, that amness, that beingness now that's looking out through these bodies. And it's looking out through these bodies, and it actually is the bodies, and it's the whole world it looks at. Just like at a dream at night, when you dream at night, when you dream, you often dream through these bodies. So you dream that you're this body in the dream, And then you dream the whole entire dream. So you dream this body looking at a world, but actually you've dreamt the whole dream, and then you're viewing it through a body. So you're viewing it through a particular body. But actually the body walking through the dream and the dream are all your dream. All of it. So when you dream at night, to say you're being chased by a monster, you are that monster. You are that person that feels like it's being chased, and you are the world that the person is running through. That is all your dream, but you're looking at it through a particular body-mind mechanism, through the 6 senses of the human. Well, we're not sure really how many senses we have, but if we say 5 plus the 6th sense of thinking, then you could have more. I mean, that could carry on the senses, but... And you could have intuition. So that's just like this. This is alivenesses, beingness. We don't have a name for it. We don't know what it is because we can never look at the dreamer, because everything is the dreamer. You can't see the dreamer, but everything is the dreamer. So in your dream at night, when you're looking through this body-mind, the body-mind can't look back and see you, the one that's dreaming, because it's coming from that person. That person's dreaming the whole entire dream. So we can't look back and see God and see who we truly are, but yet everywhere is who we truly are. Everything is that dream of God. So these words now, the sight, everything is coming from God. Everything is coming from that boundlessness. But we can also hey Andrea. Hey Andrea. Hi Steve from Adelaide. Hi Harold. Merry Christmas. Hi Paul Sutherland. Hi Lisa. Is there Oh hey Paul and Anne. Nice to meet you guys. Yes, you can Skype call. We're watching Happy Christmas. Can we Skype? Sure. Skype call. We're watching Happy Christmas. Oh. Can we Skype? Sure. Hey guys.
Hey,
Hi, Lisa.
Hey.
Hi, Lisa.
Don't put our picture up. We don't look too good today.
Okay, no, I won't put your picture up.
You can put my picture up. It's
you have to, when I call you, you need to turn
Hang on, we've got two things on
yeah,
here.
you need to turn the volume off of YouTube.
Yeah, turn it down 1 minute.
Yeah, just turn it off.
Yeah.
And then you should be able to see me through Skype and speak to me through
Yes,
Skype.
we can.
Nice. Hey guys.
Hi.
Can you see us?
No.
Okay. We've been watching you now for only about a week.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, you're really good. I love listening to you. It's amazing. And we've been doing. We've kind of got onto this path about 8 months ago. So
oh wow. So you're really new.
Yeah,
Yes.
but we found every single teacher going because
Oh wow.
we're like 24/7 with it. We're just totally on it, and we became Christians about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And followed that path until it came to a dead end. And when I was praying one night, God told me that. I felt God told me that the problem was my mind, was in the thinking. And because of that, I then, by coincidence, found Eckhart Tolle.
Oh wow.
And then from that, this journey started and went down the various teachers. And now we have various teachers that we've learnt so much from. And lots of things have fallen away, heaviness and problems. And we've also given up our business to be more in being. Because that's what we wanted to do, and that's really fun.
Wow.
We're travelling at the moment, and
we're living in a caravan in Portugal.
So you've been, maybe if you're in Portugal, you've been into Muji or Gangamira, is that her name?
Muji.
Yeah.
We've been to Monte Sahaja.
We've been on a few retreats and had some great awakenings. Been through the whole process of we've got it, we haven't got it, we've got it, we haven't got it. We're very connected to the same path, both of us. You know, we kind of hit it together, which is unusual, but it's good. And so I'm just kind of getting used to the idea. I've kind of accepted and letting go of this got it, haven't got it.
Yeah.
It's there all the time. My awareness, myself is always here.
Yeah.
I'm always here, and I'm observing my mind more, and the thought process and the feelings.
Yeah.
And really, it's just it's just always wanting more of that. Really.
Yeah.
If that probably sounds like I'm probably still seeking.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like the acknowledgement that there's still seeking energy there. There's still an energy looking. The problem that we get into is not being honest with ourselves. So everything is always changing. So you have feelings one day or one moment, and then the next moment you have different feelings. And it's never that we are something specific. We follow patterns, but we're never something specific. We're always in change, and we're always growing as on the human side of things, on the relative side of things. And so there'll be moments where you feel like there's less seeking there, or moments when you feel like there's more seeking there. And just to recognize that and be totally honest with yourself. Because what the mind wants to do, what the ego wants to do, is it wants to stay in, I've got it, I'm done, I never have to do this subject again, or I'm there, I'm enlightened. And that's just the mind, that's just the illusion trying to be something and trying to hold on to non-duality. And actually it's always, I always think that you have to go the other way around. Like you have to always just be honest to what you are, rather than listening to any stories of what you are. So in each moment when it comes up of the story, I have got it and I haven't got it, then you can just go back to the feeling and feel in the body and acknowledge in the body that there's an energy coming up of wanting something else now. And that's a habit that's been there for so many years. Like we've been taught for since we went to school. Even our parents taught it. They weren't even aware of it. But since we went to school, we were always taught that happiness is in the future. It's never here. It's always about something, a thing that you get in the future, whether it be success, whether it be a house, whether it be a car, or not as a kid, but as a kid it would be more things like do well in your tests, or please the teacher, please the parent, eat all your food, whatever it might be, play nicely, your friends like you. and it's always about something else. So when you do feel that energy come up of have or I haven't got it, my recommendation, while you feel separate, ultimately there's nobody there, but while you feel like you can do something, is just become aware of what's happening in the body and become aware of that seeking energy, because it's so connected to the body. You don't need to spend ages in it, but just acknowledging what's actually happening rather than living on the layer above that, which is your version of what's happening. And your version of what's happening is never true, because your version, it will be the mind version, the ego version, will be a version that's always trying to make you feel better about yourself or worse about yourself, depending on what it's identifying with. But it's never actually accurate as to what's going on. It's a story that the mind wants to tell because it's familiar or because it brings you more pleasure. So it could be a negative story. You've got it wrong. You always get it wrong because you're familiar with that. It's something your parents or school taught you. Or it could be a positive story of I've got it. See, I'm better than everybody else. It's always flicks between the two.
Or both.
Yeah, both flicking between them both. And so when you acknowledge that story's going on, just feel where you feel that in your body. And then just acknowledge that and see that none of it's actually who you truly are. All of it is belongs to the instrument which is being looked through. So every form that appears isn't you. It's that boundlessness, that freedom looking through that, and none of that is you. The reason it feels like you and the reason that it carries on playing is when it's unconsciously playing. So when you unconsciously are living in these surface stories of I have got it or I haven't got it, and they're taken to be real. I have got it. The amount of times that comes up of I have got it, and it really feels real that there's somebody there that has got it. There's absolutely nobody.
I think the times that you know, it's when there are times where I just feel like I drop back away from the personality, from being Anne, and then into the space, and the sort of that's the place that feels more real, more everything's observed from that place. And it's like an acknowledgement, a recognition that I am awareness, you know, like I had this experience, I don't know if it's an experience, but recognition, very briefly, a glimpse, let's say the other day, very, very clearly that I am awareness. And it was really funny because the word that came up for me was, oh my God, I'm supernatural. I'm not human. I am not this body. I'm not. I just got it so clearly as a glimpse. And when I've heard you talk about, and I love the way that you describe it because it helps me to know. I don't hear many people describe it as clearly as you do, from where you're coming from. And when you describe just looking out from these eyes and being, you know, and just being the seer behind the eyes of the whole thing, it's almost like at times I feel like it's almost like I can imagine it so clearly. It's like, why can't I just open the door and be there? If you see what I mean.
And it's frustrating, but 8 months is a very short time. But it's because it's not only this lifetime that there's been identifications. It's like, in a way, we aren't, like, if you look at it like these bodies are like bundles of information. There's not actually somebody separate. There isn't any person in this body. It's like a bundle of information of all of humanity that's come before. And you could say the whole of life. Like, if you look at evolution, it's always growing, and so this, and changing and developing. And so this body contains the identification of thousands and thousands of years of humanity. And so so it's such a strong energy in this body to be someone, to be something. And so that habit is it's being broken. And I'm seeing in younger people, it's like breaking quicker and quicker, you know, like the younger, it's almost like I feel like, you know how kids are with iPads now, like they almost at 1 year old, they almost get it. It's like in their genes already, it's in their genetics. And so it's going quicker, this waking up process. And the last generations had it even harder because this subject had never been brought over to the West before. But it's like a huge energy, this huge push to go into the story of being someone and being something, and to seeking in time. And so 8 months really isn't a long time, but that energy will keep pulling to go back to be someone, because that's what it's designed to do, and that's what it's used to doing. And so I wouldn't even go down those thought processes of, oh, it goes so long and why does it take so long. Like, as soon as that comes in, just come back to the sensation of it and just see that underneath it all there is either two strong emotions. So underneath your feelings is lack or fear. So when the identification starts, when the separation starts, the two strong emotions that begin to appear is the fear. So separation starts and you suddenly are someone inside this body, so a lot of fear comes. And fear doesn't have to end for this body mind mechanism, but a lot of fear arises because you're suddenly something small inside here looking out these eyes, and you're limited. And then also a sense that you've been kicked out of Eden, that you've been kicked out of heaven. So there's also a sense that God's abandoned you. And so there's a sense that you're unloved, or that there's lack inside of you. So you have these two strong emotions that arise. So when that strong story comes up of, why is this still going? Why do I keep going back into the seeker? Notice that it's not actually interested in talking about the waking up process and liberation. What's actually happening is the seeker wants to stay in the story of lack, because it's used to that story and it's identified with lack. So it's used to feeling like it's not enough. So when it says, I'm in the story again, or I'm lost, it's not actually because it's trying to help you and that it's interested in waking up. It's just the natural process and pattern that goes with being separate, that there is something wrong with you, because all separate people have a deep feeling that there's something wrong with them. So so when you get into this subject, the mind can often obsess about where it is in the spiritual path, and when it's got it and when it hasn't got it. Not because it's of any benefit, solely because the mind loves to go into that story that I'm not enough, that I've done something wrong. So when those feelings come up, and when those thought processes come up about flip-flopping, about going from got it, lost it, got it, lost it, just go back to the heart area, because I'm sure it will be in your heart area, and just feel that sensation that comes with being separate of lack, and see, and you can even look and remember experiences and how many times you've acted out of I'm not enough and there's something wrong with me. And you don't need to spend a long time in this. Eventually you can then see that it's all appearing in this boundless freedom, but just acknowledge that sensation and that bundle of energy. When it's not acknowledged, it will keep playing unconsciously. The stories will keep rolling out of not enough and I've done something wrong, or I'm not getting it, or I'll never get this. Just acknowledge where that energy arises in the body, because it's kind of like it's stuck and it's a pattern. And acknowledge the sensation and just give it some space. Just put the awareness on there.
It's funny because as you're talking, actually, so I have got a bit of a, I don't know if it's coincidence, but I have got a bit of a pain in the area that you're talking about.
In the heart area.
I don't know why, whether, it's really strange. I wasn't going to mention it, but I have got quite a strong pain going, which I don't normally while I'm talking to you.
Well, do you know, I sometimes think that when feelings and sensations are being released, that they actually get stronger. So when you kind of begin to point them out and you begin to see that something's not true, like a thought process or a way of being isn't true, it actually is like it gets stronger in the body. And when it gets stronger, I feel like that's it coming out. But we can just go into that feeling. So if you just shut your eyes, I always find it better to shut your eyes when you're feeling the feelings. And just put your attention onto that feeling.
Yeah.
And we'll just sit in silence for a few moments. And then I'm just going to speak a bit about non-duality, and then we'll go back to the feeling. But just rest your attention on that feeling. And is it Peter, your partner? Peter? If you Paul, your partner. So Paul, if you just also go into your body, and if you feel any tension anywhere, just become aware of that tension in your body. And if you don't feel any tension, then that's beautiful. You can just sit there and you don't have anything specific to do. So just rest your attention there and just become familiar with the feeling and what the feeling is kind of saying. So if it's feeling unloved or sad or lack, just become aware of it. And that one that's becoming aware of it, so that one that's got its attention on the feeling, just also register that that one isn't the actual experiencer and isn't the one that's waking itself up. That one is an experience appearing and not a separate entity. So that one that's moved its attention onto the feeling is an experience in boundlessness. It's known. It's not the knower. That person that moves its attention is known by a boundless freedom. And that freedom isn't limited anywhere. It's boundless. It's huge. It's eternity. It's not a thing, and yet it's everything. So even though you move your attention to that feeling, just also be aware that that person that's moving its attention is an appearance happening and doesn't actually have free will and independence. It's a functioning that happens.
Yeah.
And isn't actually you. You're not limited to that.
You're behind that.
Yeah. You can
Wow,
also say you're forward in front of it. You can't actually find its location. The experiencer isn't located anywhere. It knows everything, but you can never see it or feel it or grasp it. That's the beauty of it. If you could, then it means it would suffer, because anything that becomes solid suffers. Like so if the experiencer was a solid thing in this world, it would suffer from the experiences in this world. But the fact that the experiencer isn't solid and isn't a thing, it's never affected by anything that appears in this. It loves everything, it accepts everything, it cannot be affected by anything. So just allow that to sink in and keep the attention. Even though I'm saying you keep the attention, ultimately you aren't a doer and you can't keep your attention there because there is no one, but a functioning responds to me saying it. Just like if I pick up my phone and I say to Siri in my phone, can you pull up this or that website, it can do that. That's the same as what's happening. That person that feels like it's moving the attention is responding automatically like that. So just to allow that feeling on there. And so it's kind of like there's a dual awareness. There's a knowing that there's a huge, vast space, this God that's experiencing itself and non-located. And then there's this person that feels sad or feels a sharp pain in its heart, chest area. And when you're by yourself, or you can even do it now, just give yourself some time to do it alone so no one can hear you. If you feel like you can do it now, you're welcome to do it now. And I would allow it to spontaneously speak. And what I mean by that is just letting every thought, so while you have your attention there, every thought or feeling that comes up, just speak it out.
Yeah.
And this is a really beautiful thing to do, because often what we're doing as a separate person is we're not acknowledging what we feel and think. We're on top of that telling ourselves a story about what we feel and think. And so we're enforcing a new story. So if we feel sad underneath, we could possibly be telling ourselves a story of how happy we feel on top of that. So actually we feel uncomfortable, we feel angry, we feel sad. And on top of that, we tell ourselves a story about how beautiful or wonderful this is, because we want to be in that and we don't actually acknowledge what happens. And this is how the suffering gets more and more contracted.
Yeah, I understand that, because I was actually saying that to Paul this morning about that often we don't allow, he was having a problem with the feeling, and I was saying often we don't allow ourselves a feeling because there's something screaming over the top of it that, you know, you can't have that, that's not right, it's not good.
And our parents
is
often,
that what you're saying?
Yeah, and our parents often condition us when we're a lot younger to, you've got to always be happy, or they condition us, and it's not just our parents' fault, it's all the family and the school, and they condition us of how we should think. So we talk ourselves out of the way that we feel as separate, as the humans on the relative level. We talk ourselves out of what we feel, and this is how the identity grows, and we begin to live in this removed identity of how we think we should be. And this one actually feels real, like we really feel and think this is real of how we should be. And so the person tells all types of stories. So it feels angry, it feels uncomfortable, but it's actually living in a story that it feels good and that it's really spiritual or peaceful, whatever it tells itself. So it's totally out of line with what's actually going on. And the more it does that, the bigger and bigger this illusory lie becomes. And so what often happens in waking up is we begin to go into what we're actually feeling and become honest about what we actually feel. And then it begins to change, actually, because the reason we feel so negative underneath is because we've been suppressing ourselves. And we haven't been allowing this negative energy out. And so therefore we've got a bundle of negative energy. So often in the waking up process, there goes through a period of actually feeling uncomfortable and a lot of uncomfortable feelings coming up because they've been suppressed for so many years.
Yeah.
So that it's like, so often when we stop living in such a grand illusory story of ourselves, like that begins to go down, and then this kind of darkness comes up, because for so many years we've not allowed to be angry, we've not allowed to be jealous, we've not allowed to be envious, we've not allowed to be moany, all these things we've not allowed to be, so they've just stayed in the body. They just get pushed into the body. You can even feel yourself doing it. So Christmas Day is like a good example of that, where you have these family meals or family parties, and the others expect you to be something else maybe than what you feel and what you think. And so therefore you push away what you actually feel and think, and you become what other people want and need you to be. And so
The funny thing is that this Christmas,
Yeah.
we're not with the family. We're away in Europe in the caravan.
Yeah.
But when as Christmas has been approaching, I've kind of started to feel these contractions of. It's almost like, well, there's not really a lot of Christmas atmosphere where we are in Portugal, but it's almost like I can feel that sort of vibe in my body of, oh, I should be happy. I should be enjoying myself. Like, I've got to keep up appearances, even though I'm not even around family, even though I'm free to be however I want to be. I've been feeling that contraction, and I think that is very strange.
Yeah.
It's conditioning, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite different for me because I do feel a lot of freedom that I've never had before.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel really like this sort of new freedom that's just, I've just never had it before. And it's just dealing with that, really. Like today, we went down to the beach and had a meal on the beach, which was amazing. And, I just started to have this experience of like, I don't know, like I'd taken drugs or something, like I'd had a few drinks. We don't drink. We used to drink a lot, so now we don't drink at all. And it was nice, but it was a bit scary because it was a bit like I didn't know what anything meant anymore. I didn't, I lost.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was. It was like I just knew that I was thinking, wow, this is what I want it to be like. There's no me. I want it to be like this all the time, but I also know that this might change in a minute, and that's fine too.
Yeah,
I've got used to.
Yeah, and just don't focus too much on what it could be or what it will be or what you want it to be. But that's really beautiful. And the reason that those drug-like experiences are happening is because the illusion is an energetic contraction. And so as that energetic contraction begins to open, you begin to have all these kind of quite funky experiences and fun experiences, which can be really scary as well. And it's just so beautiful because you've given up your life and you've changed your life so dramatically and done something so huge, it's like you begin to see that nothing that you thought you had to be or were is true. There is nothing which you are. And it's such a liberating
I do feel very
experience.
free.
Yeah.
It's like I feel in a position that I can just go for it. I can just be free now, Everything is set in place for me to be set free. It's like God's opened that door and said, you can go, you can fly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. The only thing is, like today, that came up, say, with that experience, and then contracting to, me worried about, I'm starting to look old, and small things like that. And because I'm trying to let go of so many things, there's a little bit like, it was easier at the beginning of the journey because it was like, oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. But now it's like, who is the self and who is the contracted person. I get a bit lost in that.
Well, who you truly are isn't anything, so you can't define it in any way. So the true experiencer now is infinity. It's so beautiful. You can't define it as good, bad, right, wrong. It's non-definable, and it's the creator of everything, and that's who's listening now. But there is a personality, and that personality has different qualities which that beingness looks through, and that personality is going to change dramatically, and that personality most probably feels like it's the one waking up, and so this is where the contraction and the expansion happens. It feels like it's the one that can free itself, or it's the one that's waking up. But actually, when you're having those experiences, you'll begin to realize that there is absolutely no one that can wake up. That personality, in a way, can stay the way it is. It can be a little bit neurotic, say, if it likes a clean caravan or a clean space, or it can be whatever personality it is. But that was always an experience appearing in the dream. And in a way, that character, like, we try to eradicate that person and think it's about eradicating that person, but it's actually the movement to that which is experiencing that person. But they often get mixed together, so there's a lot of therapy that goes on while waking up, because the person is releasing itself from, I don't know how old you are, but 30 years, say, of identification, 30 years of living a lie. So it's got many neurotic thoughts and ideas and belief systems. Even the idea that it has free will is a bizarre idea. So those sort of things are changing. So you see loads of change happen in the separate person. But who you truly are, that which is hearing this and that which is waking up, you will never see, you will never hear, you will never understand, you will never grasp, but yet it's everything that's here. It's the mind just goes and that will become more and more clear. But you'll find that you'll switch between two things happening. There'll be this waking up that's got nothing to do with you, and then there'll be this person that's doing things and growing on the personal level and changing on the personal level. And it will become more and more unclear over time that person doesn't wake up, but that person goes through a massive change while waking up happens.
I do experience that happening, and
and I do get a little bit concerned recently that I know you say 8 months isn't a very long time, and I know that from listening to lots of people's testimonies and things, but I'm going through a stage at the moment where I'm worrying, will it ever happen? Because I get so many glimpses and insights that are so amazing, so beautiful, of like just being, haze and not real, and just amazing experiences, but very, very brief, very brief glimpses, and then back into what feels like, personhood and drudgery. And I do get a bit concerned. It's like,
this worry that comes up, this worry is a pattern that will have played most of your life as a separate person. It will be the same worry. You had your own business, and I don't know what your business was and what you did, but it'll be the same worry that you have around money or around what the business does. It will actually be the same feelings. It's a process of the mind that's used to looking at the future as happiness. So enlightenment is happiness. So when you get there is happiness. And that you've got to do the right things to get there. It's the same thinking process, just transferred onto the spiritual the spiritual practice and the spiritual process. And so when that feeling comes up, I would just locate where it is in the body, understand that it's not true, and that what the mind is saying has nothing to do with what's actually happening in this moment. Nothing to do. It's an old pattern coming up, just playing a different storyline. And most people get stuck in this storyline, but just really see that it's not true what the mind is saying. And I'm sure that feeling...
As you're saying it now, I actually see, I just see that what you're saying is true, and that you're right, it's the same worry that I used to have around money. It's the same feeling.
It's the same feeling.
That there is something that cannot stop this process that's nothing to do with me. Yeah, that's really good. I really like
And
that.
and
That's
just
really,
notice where
really
it is in the
cool.
body, and you'll notice that the same feeling. So you'll have two major feelings that come up. You'll notice that you can take most storylines back to those feelings, and that's fear and lack. And the lack story will tend to be in the chest area, and the fear story will tend to be more in the belly area. And they're just not true. And when they get activated, a story will start in the brain, and it might
Yeah.
start about how annoying the person is next to you. And it might, and the story will start about how annoying that person is, but actually what you feel is that God's not giving you enough, so you feel like there's something wrong with you. So you don't actually feel
Yeah.
annoyed with the person next to you, you feel that there's something wrong with you and that in some way you're in lack. And it's the same
Yeah.
with
Brilliant.
fear. And fear tends to be more future based, and will you get there? Will you make the right choices to get you there?
Yeah.
Will it ever happen
Wow.
for you? And it literally is just total illusion happening. It's
Yeah.
total illusion of that person, of that illusory
That's
person.
so clear.
That really simplifies putting it into those two categories. Really
Yeah, you're
simplifies it.
right. I know exactly what you're saying. I do get that in the chest is oh, I'm not a good person. I'm a bad person. I'm not enough. And fear is always in my belly, just in my sort of solar
Yeah.
plexus area.
And this is
Yeah.
what you've been working for your whole life to get rid of. You weren't born with these two feelings. They happened when you were 1 or 2 years old and when separation happened. And then there was an over focus on being the good child, the good boy, the good girl, or being the bad boy, the bad girl. So there was an over focus on your morality and you having to be good. And then there was the over focus on future and happiness being found in the future and the fear. And so these two emotions just keep being sparked. And then we have all these surface stories on top. So all of them you can trace back. So even you could trace back a massive jealousy attack down to lack, that you feel
Yeah.
underneath that you're not enough, you're not lovable, and that you're not safe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of them, and even like small irritations and annoyances, you can trace back. You know, when you're in the middle of an argument or about a really small thing, you can just notice, and it doesn't mean things don't happen, that you don't push for your way at points, but it's you can notice that actually underneath this, the reason I feel so uncomfortable is because I feel attacked and I feel afraid. And it's not really that the other person is, and that's why we get so defensive. But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean apathy. Like, it's just that often when we're trying to get things our way or when we're trying to get things done, we go into these strong contractions, and so we act from these strong contractions. But you can actually be really forceful and want someone to do something or want something to happen, but it doesn't have to come from this tight, contracted energy. We get a bit. We have to be careful because sometimes in the spiritual process, people can get apathetic. Like there is no doer, there is nobody to do anything. But you can have strong will while being on the spiritual practice, and that's not a
Yeah.
contradiction.
And Lisa, when you say 8 months is a short time, because I've had it kind of in my mind that it could just happen now. Whether it's been 8 months or a week, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's not. Is that true
Well,
or not?
yeah, it's true. It can. It's yeah. It can happen. It happens whenever it happens, and in a way,
Yeah.
it's always here. It's always available. It just
Yeah.
depends on how much energy is invested in, and how much there is left to play out the personal story of being someone separate.
Yeah.
And that's
So
totally
when
in
you're
God's
saying
hand.
so when you're saying about 8 months is a very short time and there's a lot of conditioning,
Yeah,
because I can understand that, I can see that
yeah,
there is a lot of conditioning. There's all those years of being brainwashed by
yeah,
society and everything. I can see that on a logical level. Wow, that would take a long time to unravel, and
yeah.
but what's the truth then? Is can it be instantaneous, or
Well,
should I be thinking more long term? But
I think that every time those thoughts arise, I would acknowledge that underneath that, even though you've got to do this for yourself, and I'm not positive, and I
yeah,
can't predict what you feel. So when those thoughts begin to arise about process and how long it's going to take, I would acknowledge underneath that that's a similar processes to business, to work, to survival, and acknowledge that those thoughts have no truth in them. And actually, at this moment, what you feel is you feel a sense of fear or not enough. And I wouldn't give any of that, like, I wouldn't, you don't, freedom isn't about finding an answer, and freedom isn't about me saying to you it'll take this long or that long. It's about coming back to what's actually happening. And that storyline of you getting there isn't about you getting there. It's a fear story. When you're afraid and when you feel not enough, you want to know how long something will take. And it's a conditioning. It's something that you're used to. And it's not about it being instantaneous or taking longer time or less time. So rather than trying to find an answer as to whether it will take this amount of time or that amount of time, acknowledge the sensation that you're experiencing underneath it. Just acknowledge what you feel. That you feel afraid.
So really what you're saying then is just to look at what your body's saying all the time.
Not all the time. I wouldn't spend all the time on the body, but when there's a repetitive story going on and going around, acknowledge what's happening underneath that. Just acknowledge, because why nothing that we feel or think is true. Their thinking and feeling is something that's helped us survive, but it's not a truth about reality, and it's not a truth about survival, and it's not a truth about life. So it doesn't mean that thinking or feeling has to stop, but what happens is you have a feeling and then you have a thought about how long it will take, and you believe that that thought is true, that there is a you there that has a certain amount of time to get somewhere. And just see that it's not true. It's not about getting an answer to that question about how long it will take or how many more months it will take. See what you feel underneath that. And just acknowledge that there's a feeling coming up of distrust, there's a feeling of coming up of fear, or whatever it is, and it might be a really small feeling. And then on a surface level, the mind starts thinking, well, how long will this take? How many more years or how many more months do I have? And it's not true. Nothing you think and feel is true. But they kind of come up, and we're in this process of waking up, and we kind of begin to think, well, how long will it take? And really, there's no answer. You know, Eckhart Tolle, he was 29 when it happened, and he hadn't really been into this subject. He didn't know anything about non-duality, and it happened spontaneously. He went into such darkness, it just cracked and broke. So there's never really an answer to it. Everybody's path is completely unique to that particular setup.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I suppose that because sometimes when people are talking, and when you've talked and you describe where you're looking from, what you see, your direct experience, a direct experiencer with no in between, and other people I've heard talking as well, and because it's like I can imagine it as if I've almost lived it in another life, as if I know that place. So if I know that place, I can't understand how I can imagine it. And I almost know what it's like.
No, but you do know it, because that's all you've ever been. So you know exactly what everyone's talking about. It's just it's like a tiny illusion, the human illusion in the whole creation of this, because you are the whole creator of everything. The human illusion, even though it feels like it goes on for a long time, is like a tiny little drop in a massive ocean. And you do know this, because that's all you've ever been, and that's all you ever can be. It's home. So when somebody's speaking, you don't even need to imagine it. What's actually, and that's not even what's happening. You're not imagining it. What's happening is that there is a knowing so deep of something much greater than the person. And so when someone speaks about it or describes it, that knowing almost comes forward again. It's like the breaking in the clouds happen, and that light pours through. And you've always been that still light. It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's great. So that's good. So that helps with, because we could probably just go on and on. We'd just be still saying when, how, when.
You are a very impatient person, though. You did forget to tell her that, didn't you?
Yeah, impatience is my satsang. It's my, I want to be there now. So it's probably just that I'm dealing with. But I am getting better at dealing with that and living more in the now.
Yeah. Just give yourself, when it comes up, strong impatience, give yourself some time to feel it in the body, acknowledge it, speaking out a little bit. You don't need to spend all the time in the feelings, but just remember to acknowledge them.
Yeah. I think that's when I started talking at the beginning. I talked about pain in my chest, and then you said the pain in the chest is about fear and when am I going to get there and things like that. So obviously that
No,
was
chest isn't fear.
Can be, but
no,
they can
not
feel
fear. The
lack.
chest.
The fear tends to be in
Yeah.
the belly, but you can feel it up here. But normally, it tends to be that I'm not enough and I'm not lovable, and feeling of abandonment.
Yeah.
But it's like you're not
Lack.
there. You're not
Yeah.
there
So it
yet.
might be lack. I'm not there yet, and
Yeah.
impatience and things.
Yeah.
But that's great. Lovely.
Oh,
Lovely to
thank you,
talk
Lee.
to
Yeah,
you.
really nice to talk
Straight
to you
away,
guys. It's
so
so beautiful
soon.
what you're doing being in Portugal. So you've been staying in Moody, and you know that there's a lady speaker in the south of Portugal called Ganga
Mira.
You've heard of her?
Yeah. We just found her because, funny how we found her, because I was looking into you and you mentioned about
Her.
your awakening in Bali.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And for some reason, I don't know how I did it, but I got a connection with Gangamira and Bali. And I thought, oh, maybe she was at Gangamira's satsang in Bali.
No, I
So I
wasn't.
traced No, it's
But,
funny, isn't it, how
yeah,
these things happen.
yeah.
And then I traced Gangamira and found out she's an hour away from us.
Yeah, yeah,
What a strange connection
yeah.
between those things, you know. But yeah, she's here too.
And
So we're just
there's so
totally
few women voices out there of non-duality, so it's really beautiful that there's this really beautiful French, well, she speaks English, but French lady that lives in the south of Portugal. So that's really...
Oh, we'll be going and looking at her. We're definitely going.
Yeah, and I think she does
want to meet her.
talks every week in her house.
Yeah,
She does, yeah.
a few a week
Yeah.
apparently, a few satsangs
Yeah.
a week.
I've seen her on the internet. I mean, it's just such a blessing having people like you and Ganga and Muji and all the others, Rupert Spear. I mean, we're just so blessed with all these awakened beings. And
it's so
I
much
just felt
easier.
so
When
good.
I was seeking, there wasn't the internet, so it was so much harder to find out about this stuff. So people are really lucky now, because you just type it into YouTube and then all these speakers, so you can find the people, because it's really important to resonate with the speaker. Like, you can listen on two levels. You can listen on the intellect, and that's valid to an extent, but there can be this resonance, this heart resonance, and it's really important to find as many as you can that make your heart resonate, that you, when they're speaking, you feel this connection and this sense of love coming up, because your true nature is love, and it's not a personal love, it's an impersonal love for nothing. And when I was seeking, it was so hard finding speakers. It was really hard. Like, you'd go to talks and then someone would tell you about this person, and you'd be trying to find out about this person. And there used to be a bookstore in London called Watkins Bookstore, and I used to go there and try and look through all the non-duality section. It was tiny, the non-duality section. So yeah, it's
I like your
amazing.
tenacity then.
If you'd have just held off 7 years, you'd have had all this information at your
I
fingertips. Wouldn't you?
know. And it was funny
You should have
because
just-
I actually withdrew from the internet for quite a few years. I was living in a very remote part of Australia, and then when I came back to the internet, like, I really didn't use the internet much. I need to stay in contact with family. It was amazing. It was like a massive, from 2006, I think it was, to 2010, like a massive explosion of non-duality happened. It was massive.
Did you not have a definite teacher then, or
I did. I first of all started off in Buddhism, and I was connected with a Buddhist group called the Western Buddhist Order, but they're now called something else. And I was with them for 5 years, and I also studied Vipassana meditation as well. And then through that, I met somebody in the Buddhist group that gave me Eckhart Tolle's book and Ramesh Balsaka's book. Ramesh Balsaka's really...
I haven't heard of that one.
Ramesh Balsaka, he was popular 20 years ago, but he's really not very well heard of now, but he used to be very popular. He was the translator of Nisargadatta Maharaj. So
really?
I am
He's amazing, yeah.
So this friend of mine, this Buddhist friend of mine, gave me those books, and then through an Eckhart Tolle meetup group, I got a poster of a teacher called Nathan Gill, and then from Nathan Gill, I found out about a teacher called Tony Parsons, and then through Tony Parsons, I found out about Gangaji, but that was about all the teachers that I knew at the time. Like, it was so small. I'd never heard of Nisargadatta Maharaj or Ramana Maharshi, but those were the teachers. And so Gangaji would come to London, and then eventually I went to see Ramesh Balsekar in India, and I used to see Tony Parsons in India, but it was very much word of mouth and actually going to live talks. Rather than watching on the internet. And I'd buy CDs or tapes, cassettes I used to listen to.
Yeah.
But it was all
Which
really
is the
hard to
best.
find.
Yeah. We heard about you being in India, and we were sort of going, oh, let's just go and see Lisa in India. But I don't know, it was too soon.
Yeah.
We know someone in Tiruvannamalai. We know this a guy who was he was staying at Muji's ashram, and he's from Tiruvannamalai, and we'd both. He was telling us about Ramanashram, and we'd both love to go.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we really both really want to go to India, but it scares us a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a really intense place. But I will be in the south of Spain in March, which is about another 2 months.
Yeah, we've seen that one.
Okay, so it's not too far from me.
See how the flow goes with that one.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, isn't it, Malaga? We love it.
We used to live there as well, in a caravan many years ago. Another time we gave up our business and went on the road. But so would you say, with you, Lisa, do you think anything was a major catalyst for you into I see it as like there's just so many awakenings all the time on the way.
Yeah.
But then, when you fall into the abyss, as it were, I think
that I had a really, I don't know how to say it. My heart was so open to this message, and so I was so in love with it, and so in a way I had a really pure heart for this. And I was really lucky because I was really young when I got into this subject, so I didn't have career or family or anything that I had to deal with. So I just totally gave up everything for this subject, everything, and my heart was just totally dedicated to it. And I think there were amazing speakers that I went to, but I really think when I look back, it was life that was a teacher, and it was also that this body-mind mechanism was ripe, it was open to this subject, so it was ready for this subject, and it was desperate for this subject. I was so desperate to hear it, and at the same time I was open to facing the hell. Most people, they're open to this subject until the hell comes up, because it does. Deep hell of Lisa came up, and I don't think it's the same for everyone. I think that some...
Well, we've been through that, Lisa. We have we have been to hell and back on this journey, in our Christian journey, following on, which I just see this as a continuation on a high level of awakening of that. And it's just, the places that it's taken us to, it's like, can there be anything else really to face? I don't think there's very much else that we could face. So,
and that's the most important part, that even when it throws up the most painful of things and the most hardest things to see through, that you keep opening your heart to love. I know that sounds really hippie and really spacey, but it's there's the problem with being a human that can think is that, so something difficult happens to us, and then we think we're not going to let that happen to ourselves again, so we're going to develop a strategy to block that out. And it's mostly between relationships, so it's mostly that it's something that happens with humans. It can happen with, say you have a car accident, or some sort of physical accident, or an animal attack or something like that, but most of it happens in human relationships. And so someone hurts us, or there's something really terrible that happens in human relationships, and then what we do, because we can think, so Khaleesi, my dog, she can't think, I'm going to keep this person out, or I'm going to stop it happening. What we do as humans is we develop all these strategies to close ourselves off and to close our heart off. And what it does, when we begin to close down, we actually become everything that we wanted to close down from. So that person that did that horrible thing to us, they did it out of having a closed heart. And then we close our heart, and then it makes us cold, and then we're able to do those cold things. And in a way, it's like opening a heart to that childlike innocence again. You know how the child saw the world and it didn't think this is dangerous, keep away. It just was like, wow, this is amazing. And it's a really it's really full on process, because the natural instinct of an identified mind and a thinking mind is to take experience and to block ourselves off from it. And it's like the worst things can happen, and the worst things are going to happen in this life, because all bodies are going to die. They grow, they flourish, and then they begin to rot. And so it's like that's going to happen. There's going to be confronted with the best and the worst of life. And it's and what this subject is about that heart, like the lotus flower, staying open to everything. It's like not
meeting them the same.
And it's because
meeting death and life the same.
It really is. And all those things that as humans make us shut down. So if someone cons us or cheats us or does really, humans when they're closed, they do really nasty things, but we stay open to that and we stay innocent to that. And the way that happens is by seeing through the illusions of the mind, by seeing through the illusions of Maya, that what we think about reality and our dualistic thinking isn't truth. And the most important
so when you
thing
face a situation like that now, where you get hurt, because obviously you probably still do get hurt, perhaps even more because you're more sensitive now. And do you know what to do in those situations now?
Well, in the human form, so in the way of the human form, no. Like I don't. I get the same information as everyone else does, which is this moment. I don't get a download of the future and the right way to act. But it's not about knowing that. What it's actually doing when that happens is it's actually just staying present. And what I mean by that is it's not your effort. It's not a personal effort, but it's like, so these situations happen, and I can tell you from being a public speaker, by putting your face out there in a way, like I deal with intense situations, because like there is, if people are jealous, if people don't get what they want, so if they don't get my love or attention, if they want it, then there can be some darkness that gets fired at me, and it really is about keeping your heart open. And when I say keep your heart open, it's about presence. So rather than going off into trying to think how to fix it, or trying to escape in a story about how bad they are, it's about totally feeling everything that happens in the innocence of this. So if they have a lot of hatred towards you, or they're doing something that's really like a harsh human action, it's staying with what's actually happening. But when you really become familiar with this, you see that it's not a possibility for you to stay with it. It's your nature, and so it's actually being still in your nature as wholeness. As
staying with the stillness, is it? Staying in that sort of stillness and not being sort of freaked out by it, or
and then going into the strategy of the mind. Obviously, we need the mind to think about things and think how to fix things and work things out. But you'll begin to see that you can't stay in the stillness because your nature is the stillness. So it's actually this energetic movement that's happening and this stillness coming forward. And it really is being present to life. So being present to the darkness and the light. So when somebody does something, it's not somebody doing something to you. It is life as yourself expressing itself in the dark and the light. So when that person does darkness, it is yourself expressing itself. As a person, though, I cry, so I'm very good at crying. So I can cry if somebody's horrible to me, and if somebody does something. On the human level, I just stay. There is a staying with the feelings, and there can be a crying that happens. Like crying's a great way of it coming out of the body, because sometimes people can be shocking, like the things that they do in order to try and protect themselves. And so just cry. Like when I'm in India, I find it sad seeing the homeless people and the poor people, and I just stay
Yes.
present. But it's not even that I stay present, it's just that movement happened back to that stillness. So therefore there isn't somebody that's trying to escape reality and close off and close the heart. It just is staying open.
Wow. Amazing.
Can I just ask you a question? Just on that subject of you seeing homeless people in India. So it's just one that's just sprang into my mind now. I've heard a few teachers mention that it's an impossibility for there to be lack.
Yeah.
That we live in an abundant cosmos. We live in an abundant universe where there is no lack. So just what about the extreme poverty and famine and things like that? How I just can't seem to fathom that one.
Yeah. I don't know if I can
Do you see
explain
it? Do you see it differently?
Yeah, I don't know what teachers you're speaking of or what perspective you're speaking of. So it's hard for me to comment if I were to listen to a speaker speak about abundance and the way they were speaking about it.
I don't know which one either, but probably because we've listened to so many.
No, it's just one that I suppose it's just my mind trying to grasp hold of things and want an explanation for them, and maybe there just isn't an explanation.
We do live in abundance, but that's a perspective from wholeness. So from the perspective of wholeness, so from the absolute perspective, this is a world of abundance and this is a world of giving. So if you go back to that stillness, this is an absolute world of giving. It gives everything. There's nothing it doesn't give. So that, on that level, it is abundance. But in the actual dream, the way the dream works is that the dream works in opposites. So one thing grows, and as one thing grows, one thing has to be destroyed. So for a tree to grow, it has to take from the sunlight and it has to take from the soil in order to take on that form. And then when that tree dies, when that tree begins to wither, then something else grows and something else becomes abundant. So in the absolute perspective, it is a world of absolute abundancy, and it is totally full and complete, the dream. But inside the dream, while one form flourishes, another form can diminish, and that is sad from a human perspective. It is sad to see humans without enough, especially when we live in a society that does potentially have enough, but that is part of the dream, and it doesn't on the human perspective we don't help in that perspective, but from the absolute it is absolutely full and complete.
Yeah, I understand. I can see it now from a totally whole level where it's, you know, from the position of consciousness or awareness or the universe. It's we're all one, and it's within that play there has to be those diversities. Those diversities are just supposedly, I suppose, awareness experiencing itself just in different ways.
And because it's energy, it's all made up of one energy. It has to be like that. So when something is growing, there's something that's diminishing. It's always going to be that way. But on the human perspective, you mustn't take that teaching on as the human perspective. On the human perspective, we are designed to have compassion and empathy. So when we see somebody that's suffering or somebody that has less, it's important that we have that sensation of empathy and compassion, and we don't try to teach ourselves the absolute and say there is absolute abundance, there's nobody there, so it doesn't matter. That's when we are using non-duality to try to escape the actual experience. So if I see something in pain and something suffering, there is a strong sense of compassion that arises in the body and a wanting to help. But from the absolute perspective, it's all complete. And ultimately, who's experiencing this now is the absolute, but it looks through a body that has these sensations of empathy and compassion.
Yes. So we've taken up lots of your time, Lisa.
I don't think there's many people because it's Christmas Day, I think.
I think it's a good day. How good.
But lovely to speak with you guys.
I want to ask you one last thing, Lisa. Very quick question. Because some teachers say that, you know, you get confused if you listen to too many teachers. Where would you advise on that?
My only guidance is to to go with that which resonates with the heart. And that, what that
And if
means,
it's different things at different times,
could be,
how does that work?
well, it could be. It could be that one
yeah.
day you resonate with this speaker and then another day you resonate with that speaker. But what I mean by when I say resonance with your heart is I mean that taste of boundlessness. And I can't tell you what that taste feels like, but maybe you already know that taste of something bigger than you. And so, and that can change. So you could be 10 years dedicated to one speaker and then one day it suddenly changes. But don't hold on to the intellectual concept of I should be with this teacher or feel guilty about the teacher. You have to respond to that that reminds you of that awe.
Because I do like that quite eclectic taste of what everyone, not everyone, but there are certain ones, I don't really want to name them, but there are certain, maybe 3 or 4, you're included in that now, who, you know, that little eclectic taste, they I couldn't put one down for another, because they just make a hole between them, sort of thing. But then I get a bit worried because some people say that you know you shouldn't really do that.
Well, some people say that, and some people say this, and it doesn't really. My way of saying it is that the most important thing is the resonance. It's not about the guru. It's not about one particular teacher. It's the resonance, and that's the guru. The resonance is the guru. So
yes, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Lovely to speak with you. Yeah, thank you.
What a Christmas present we have.
Nice.
A nice Christmas present. God bless.
Nice,
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice conversations. Hey, Phyllis. That's sweet. Place you never left, yeah. Hey, Jason. Merry Christmas. Hi, Renate. Merry Christmas. Hi, Elango. I will call you if there's no one else, Elango, as I see you in 4 or 5 days in India. Hi, Deepa. Seasons wishings, Lisa dear. Could you speak about disengaging from the story and getting back to the raw sensations in the body? Conditioning as default goes to the story and gets stuck right there. Right now is anger, and the mind fishes for the possible candidates and the stories to fit that premise. Yeah, and it's not actually the sensations and the feelings in the body aren't true and aren't it, but it's like a stepping stone, because there's such a strong conditioning that lives in your mental reality. It's like coming back to the body is like a stepping stone of becoming more and more honest with yourself and less thick of you. But what eventually will happen is there will be a movement, so your amness, your beingness, the looker will stop being somebody that feels these emotions, somebody that likes things or doesn't like things, somebody that feels happy or unhappy, and there will be this aliveness, beingness, which is everywhere and everything, and then there will be the person that has all these feelings and ideas appearing in that, but it won't be bound to those ideas anymore. But the reason that I suggest going back to the feelings is because it's like the story of you is so fake. And so the feelings are more, it's not like they're more real, but they're more organic. You have a feeling of anger, and then you have this whole story maybe that you're not angry and that it's this person's fault and that's why you're angry, whatever it is. So they're more organic. But ultimately it's about this boundlessness and movement back to this boundlessness. But it's like a stepping stone, even though ultimately in the absolute there are no stepping stones. It's just like a movement coming back to what's actually happening, rather than what you think's happening. So right now you feel anger. So I would suggest when you feel strong anger, just go and sit where no one can hear you and spontaneously speak it out. So give yourself full permission to hate anyone, to dislike anyone, to think anything, and just speak it out for 10 minutes. It will actually give you loads of endorphins and you'll actually feel good about it. And then you'll be aware of what you're actually feeling. And then if at some point you can, take it deeper to one of the two major emotions that we feel when we're separate is fear or lack. So eventually turn it into, so if you're feeling really angry with one particular person, then see that actually you feel afraid or that you feel lack, because it will be there underneath it. Hey Vince, Merry Christmas and thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh no, there's only two thank you, sorry. Thank you, thank you. My pleasure, Vincent. Nice dog there, I see. A Ridgeback maybe? Or it's a bulldog, I can't tell. It's so exciting. I love your earrings, Lisa. Oh, thank you. Cosma. Alexandra. Hi, Raphael. That's a big question, Raphael. I'm just going to go to the toilet and then I will answer your question. It's all right, Dad. I'll just leave it with you then. Merry Christmas. I started to feel the fear of being alone and the habit to give my being or fears to someone else. So not wanting to take responsibility for my presence. So I feel the need to have someone else who tells me it's all okay. I can see now who I think I am, enlightened and special, is a burden to be around. So the reaction is to go into hiding in my own little world. So I'm trying to feel the body, but it's quite difficult because since I was 8, my body caused me lots of pains due to arthritis. So this habit is strong, not wanting to be present in the body or emotions. We met in Barcelona in October. Maybe you remember me. So Nonduality was a perfect escape from my feelings and body. Everything that challenges me causes me to escape into dark, small inner world. No one there and judge that what is outside to keep it away. It's lessening, but so much resistance. Sorry, it's such a long message. That's okay. Pro-fish. Who are you on Skype? I've only had calls from Sam and Alango, and I'm just doing Raphael now. He says I remember him. Your picture isn't very good. It's like I can't really see you very well. You have to send me a better picture. Yeah, we use everything to escape what's happening. And this is full-on feeling, like absolute feeling. It's not that feeling's more it than thinking, it's that all there is feeling, really. Everything is feeling. And thinking it's as well, it too, but there's this illusion that goes into time. And so it's coming back to what's actually happening. Not trying to sit in awareness or consciousness that's removed from what's happening, because that awareness and that consciousness is everything that's happening. It's really about coming back to what's happening now. Consciousness or no thing is easy escape from life. And this isn't about escaping from life. It's about the no thing and the everything part. I meet so many people that have escaped. This is why I dramatically changed the way I spoke over the last 10 months or so, because there's so many people that are using this message, the way that I speak as well, to escape what's happening. To cut off, I am nobody, I am this beingness, this aliveness. And so they use it to remove themselves from the feelings and the sensations of this. And it's like, it comes back to life again. Feeling or sensation comes back to life again. I never used non-duality to escape feeling because I had such strong feelings. I couldn't. But it really is an intimacy with feeling, because when that person gets removed, it's like the internal and the external dissolve. So really the external becomes feeling. It doesn't become some abstract thought about world. It's like the sensed and the sensing are one and the same thing. That's all there is. So the touch of the sofa is all there is. The feeling of sadness when you see a homeless child in India is all there is. The blue sky as you look at it is all there is. The cool breeze against your skin is all there is. It really is coming back to the emptiness of what is, but that isn't a removal of feelings. The feelings and the world are one and the same thing. That's how life is experiencing itself now, is through feelings. But this living in a illusory person is like this removed person from what's actually happening. It's all about presence. And when I speak about you doing things, don't take that you seriously. There ultimately is no person there doing something. So if I had my phone here, I could show you, I could show you Siri. Now Siri thinks that he's somebody too. No, he doesn't think he's somebody actually. But look, so I say to Siri, hello Siri.
Hello there, Laurie.
Hi. Could you tell me what time it is in New York?
In New York City, New York, the United States, it's 2:53 p.m.
So it's like I speak to it and it responds. So I say to you, move your attention to the feelings or explore what's happening. And that happens, but that's not you, that's a functioning. So there isn't actually somebody in here called Siri, but that functioning happens. Hey Siri, what is the meaning of life?
I can't answer that. Ha ha!
Hey Siri, what is the meaning of life?
Life, a principle or force that is considered to underlie the distinctive quality of animate beings. I guess that includes me.
Wow, that is such a profound answer. Life, a principle or force that is considered to underline the distinctive qualities of inanimate beings. I guess that includes me. Wow, that's really beautiful. Hi Siri, who is Jesus Christ?
All right, here's what I found.
So now he's pulled up websites for Jesus Christ. So when I say to you, move the attention to the feeling, you believe that's you, but actually that's an experience appearing in boundlessness. So imagine if I put these on as Google goggles now. So I put these on my face and I put it on this way and I looked into a virtual reality and I was looking through somebody's eyes. So imagine I was looking through the eyes of Dolly Parton in this virtual reality. And I was looking and experiencing the Dolly Parton world. So I was looking through her eyes as she was singing to a concert of 1,000 people. And then I was looking through her eyes as she went to the toilet. And then, eventually, I began to forget that I was looking into my phone and that it was a virtual reality. And I began to feel like I was Dolly Parton. And then after time, I began to get so invested into the character of Dolly Parton. I was afraid when she was going to die. I was embarrassed by things that happened and I was so identified and I developed this whole fake reality and anxiety and all these feelings about being Dolly Parton. And then I meet a person, a guru that says, you're not Dolly Parton, you are that which experiences Dolly Parton. There's somebody that's experiencing Dolly Parton. And then eventually, through listening again and again and again, there's this realization that who I am isn't the person, isn't Dolly Parton. I am that which experiences Dolly Parton. I can't look round and see myself, but I am the seeing. I am the looking. I am that essence, that sense of being that's everywhere. Hey, Elango.
Hello.
Hey. You still want to talk or you're busy now?
No. 1 second. I'm just trying to get on my camera. Hello.
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 Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
I'm able to see you. Just a minute. Oh. You able to see me?
No, I cannot see you.
Yes, now?
Yes, I can see you. And do you mind if I put you on to... Oh, thanks, Elange. Do you mind if I put you on to
Yeah.
the stream? That's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I just have to cover all the other people. There you go. Oh, I have to move so you can see me. Hey, Elango, I shall see you in a couple of days.
Hi. Yeah. So Merry Christmas to you and everybody.
Oh, thank you.
So you were talking to Siri today.
Yeah. He said a really
How
beautiful thing
different?
about life. I was surprised by how beautiful that quote
Yeah.
is. Normally, if you ask him questions like that, he doesn't answer. He says, you need to speak to somebody else about this.
How is Siri different from you, or you are different from Siri, or we are different from Siri?
Well, what happens with the human body is that consciousness looks through. There's a thing that called consciousness, which is put into the body, which looks through. And then what also happens in the human body, so there is this sense of this looking through of presence, where presence isn't looking through this, but presence is looking at it. So through the human body comes presence, which is who you truly are. And then when it looks through this body, what also arises in this body is a sense that you are someone, that you are a person. So then that presence almost gets mixed with the sense that you are someone in time, and then it looks out into the world and it sees the world as separate, that you are someone here and that the world is out there. Whereas Siri and this phone is appearing in presence. But presence isn't looking through this, but presence is looking at it. And is it? Whereas these bodies, presence, that sense of being, that sense of amness and the knowing, the consciousness is looking through this instrument, these bodies.
So we are different from that computer.
Not we on the human level, on the human part. If you speak from the relative part, in a way we're made of the same. We're dead, inanimate objects.
The human.
Yeah. So in a way we're both robotic instruments, but presence looks through these instruments at this, and then knows itself.
Okay, so the instrument and this human are robots.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and everything isn't alive. So we think that life is alive, but everything isn't alive. It's like dead matter. And then the presence looks through these instruments, and that's what's alive. That's what knows itself.
So the human body is not alive.
No. It's what we in our language, we call it life and death. So we call the movement of this body life. So when the heart beats and when it functions in a certain way. But actually, a friend of mine was telling me, and I don't know if I can repeat what they said, that scientists actually don't know what a live cell is and a dead cell is. But we can say that the functioning, what we define as life, is when the body, the heart beats and the blood moves around, the brain is working. And this is what we define as life, as being alive. But
so what do you define as life?
What do I define as life? Actually, everything. What do I define as life or alive, did you say?
No, you said the scientists think that the heart beating and the blood being pumped and the brain working is life. But you don't agree with that, and you say that the human body is dead.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you could get intricately, you could get very complicated with concepts, but the human body, the aliveness, that presence, that sense of knowing now, that sense of existence, has got nothing to do with the body or anything that appears in life. That is the essence, that is what's alive, then all of this is look through, all of this dream is look through. And all of that, you could say, is that essence, but none of it is independently alive. None of it exists separately.
So
In
the
our
human
human
body,
world, we have a definition of what we call alive and dead. But actually that isn't really what's alive and dead, because nothing dies, nothing disappears, it transforms into something else. It's only because we associate a soul with a body, we think the soul goes out with the body at a certain point when it stops moving in a certain way, and then we call that dead.
so the human body and Siri, they are the same.
Ultimately,
The iPad that you have is made up of silica. Whatever the computer chips are made up of,
yeah,
which is actually sand. And the human body is made up of all these carbon-based atoms. So
yeah,
ultimately, they are all matter,
yeah,
and they are programmed.
yeah. They have a programming to them, yeah, but their programming is
They have a
always
program.
evolving and always
Yeah,
upgrading.
but the program is there. The
Yeah.
program is there.
Yeah,
As that Siri has got an answer for what is life,
yeah,
which was programmed by somebody.
yeah,
So what I am asking you is also programmed by somebody. I'm
yeah.
actually a doll.
Yes, but you're an evolving one where I don't think the computer is evolving. So you're learning from the information that's given to you, which is amazing. So you're growing, just like a plant grows from the water. You're growing from the
Yeah,
information.
but there is no you here. There is only a functioning.
Yeah. So that
But you just
functioning,
now told me that you
that
is evolving.
that functioning, then you can say is evolving
Evolving based on what input? From who?
from the apparent outside.
What is that outside?
The outside to that functioning. So that Alango has a particular functioning, and then the outside to Alango. So the outside world.
Is it the creator then? The programmer?
Yes. The programmer is boundlessness, is affinity, is this undescribable thing, which is experiencing now in this instant, which is this essence.
The X factor, the God principle.
Yeah.
Something like that?
I don't know what you mean by the God principle.
The force, the life force which is giving life to this body.
Yeah.
The presence.
That's experiencing itself, yeah.
The presence.
Yeah.
So the presence is actually evolving me, moment to moment.
Yes, but that's the way it set up the dream. So it's on automatic, but yes, that's the way it's set up the dream. Is that the dream is constantly evolving and growing and getting more and more intricate. Yeah.
But the dream has been designed by the presence.
Yeah.
This conversation.
Mm-hmm. But it's actually spontaneously creating. It sounds like it's sat in a back room. It's more like an explosion of energy. But I can't even describe that. It's impossible with our human brains to think about it.
Can you just say that sentence again, please?
It's impossible with the human brain to think about it.
Then how does the human unravel this?
Now, luckily, it's not about thinking. The thinking is experienced. So everything you think and feel and every idea you get is being experienced by infinity, by something that has no questions and has no answers. That's absolutely whole, and you could describe it as love. That's right here. This presence, this essence, that's vibrating, that is everything, that hears my voice. That's who you are. This instant.
How is it that you and all the enlightened persons keep talking about this presence or this unitary principle as love? And love is looked upon usually as a positive phenomena.
Yeah, it is love because it's absolute unconditioned love. So it's not from anything. Its nature is love. The nature of I amness or amness is love. The nature of that presence is love. It's the manifest to that stillness. The stillness is the emptiness, is the vastness, is the non-holding on, the non-attachment to anything. And then the amness, the manifest side, the everything side, is total and utter love. I really can't split them out. Like everything I say is like a poem. You have to throw it away because it's not some neat concepts, but it's trying to evoke something deeper in you.
So this presence is infinite love.
Yeah.
Unconditional.
Yeah. Not because of anything. And it's right. It's available anytime in the worst circumstances of life.
So is this love equated to happiness of the human being?
Happiness is something that comes and goes, but when this is seen and recognized, and when this shift happens, this energetic expansion happens, then it maybe you could call it
Infinite love,
happiness.
infinite happiness.
But no, it's not infinite happiness, because happiness comes and goes, but it changes the person. Or you could call it happiness, but happiness without cause. Not happiness as a sensation, as a feeling. Normally we think of happiness as excitement or a response to something. What do you feel? What do you feel right now, Alango? Right here, right now, and it doesn't have to be feelings in the body. Whatever is coming and happening here, because it's all about here, not about what you think. Here, this, and that could be just the breath.
Anxiety.
You feel anxiety. Do you have a location of that anxiety? Your cup is so small compared to mine. Dinky cup.
Flask, you're holding a flask.
Sorry?
You're holding a flask? Flask.
Yeah. Yeah, my flask.
If you ask me now, it's not localized anywhere in the body. So whenever there is an emotion, usually it goes to this area, the heart area. But the feeling has always been one of anxiety for me.
Yeah.
Anxiety to meet the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the limited armaments that you have.
With the limited what that you have?
With the limited resources that you have
yeah.
in your body and blah blah blah.
Yeah. It's the constant pattern of is future hold something for you. That you get rest in the future. And it's a pattern that you will have started so young that you'll have always been told that you get safety and security from the future. You'll have had traumas and you'll have associated to it, like scares when you were a child. You might not even remember them. And you'll have associated that your security comes from the future. So what it does is it has an underlying feel of anxiety, always fixating on the next moment. And it just tenses the body slightly. It's not even that deeper suffering, but it's a sense of dis-ease, like there's got to be a movement to the future.
Okay, I'll just interrupt you now.
Yeah.
You're talking to me, to the you.
Huh?
You're talking to you. You're talking to Ilango here. You're addressing me as you. Right? Which appears as a contradiction to just what you spoke about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, might do.
You say it's functioning. I mean, because I have understood it, but you said, I think I've been repeating this quite often. 2015 was like non-duality message, and anybody was trying to just slip away from the path was like blasted. But now 2016, it's becoming more of duality.
Yeah.
So there is a flip-flop between addressing the you and you do this, and then saying that you doesn't exist and there is a functioning. Mm-hmm. How to overcome this contradiction or the discrepancy for us who are listening to it?
Well, I just wouldn't focus on it. I wouldn't focus on it. I would just be open to whatever I say in the moment.
But it is glaring. It's like the black and white, the day and night. You say the day is correct and then the night happens. You say there is no you.
Yeah.
It's just a functioning understood. Like the Siri, this is the functioning happening.
Yeah.
Then you address the you and you give instructions to the you.
Yeah. I wouldn't fixate on it. So what does it make you feel when I do that?
Is even Lisa compromising?
That's not a feeling, that's a thought. What does it make you feel when I do that?
That overlay of anxiety is there. Maybe it's becoming more.
And the reason that it becomes more is because your mind cannot get into the stream of intellectual understanding. So therefore you don't know where I'm coming from, so it increases fear. If you can find this map, this intellectual map, then it makes you feel more safe and the anxiety and the fear relaxes a little. But actually, finding safety in the intellectual map actually in the long term increases the anxiety.
Now I've got your message that the freedom is here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in the happening.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah.
That message is well understood.
Yeah.
But because we are talking and because there is a language and there is sort of a Q&A session happening here on Ustream, on YouTube. I was just thinking, like, earlier your message was like on the bullseye, saying that it's just this baby.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming like, where do you feel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where, the contradiction of the you becomes more and more. This is what teachers for eons have been doing, from Adi Shankara to even Osho to probably Eckhart Tolle, saying, you stay in the now, you be in the present.
Yeah.
But when Lisa exploded into the scene, there was no you.
Yeah. There is no you, ultimately.
Yeah, ultimately. But again, now she's sort of flip-flopping onto the you scene.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask this question. How does somebody who's following you reconcile that at the mind level? Because language is mind.
Yeah.
Whenever you speak, it's the mind. And
I wouldn't worry about it. I'd just come back to the feelings.
Yeah.
I know that's really like a...
My question is actually...
Sounds like a not very interesting answer to me.
No. Yeah. My thing is like, when there are so many people around who keep talking about the you.
Yeah.
And your message is not the you.
Yeah.
And though I do understand it's coming through Lisa now, and Lisa doesn't have any control over what's coming through the Lisa body. Yeah. It's like, for example, there were so many teachers, and I was fixated with Osho for a lot of reasons. Nobody could, match his way of functioning and living the way he lived. Like he was walking the talk, where others did not do that. That's why I respected Osho very much, irrespective of all the things which happened behind him, or the lot of controversies which surrounded him. Why I loved that man was he walked the talk. Like I can talk about courage now and then whimper like a cat next moment, whereas he strode the planet like a giant.
Yeah.
Coming to Lisa, it was like a non-compromise on the you delivery. There's no you.
Yeah.
So why is now Lisa going back to the what the other people did? Where I found even now that that you changed. We called it the cliche, English cliche of a paradigm shift in the teaching of.
Yeah.
This is it. Doing happens. And when I asked the question of what should I do,
because Alanga, you're a perfect example of it, because you're a perfect example of why the shift more than likely happened. I can't ultimately tell you why life does things. It does things, but because the thing is it's really beautiful that you resonate so much with the way that there is no you, because it is true. But
correct.
The thing is what happens with your body-mind is you take it in on the mind level. The reason actually I reckon that you're attracted to me as a speaker isn't because of my accuracy in the intellect, or isn't because of my accuracy with words. It's because you resonate on a heart level. Now I know that this is most probably like, and you don't want to go there, but there's a resonance on a heart level. And what I mean by the heart level is that I remind you of a love and an innocence that's beyond the intellect, that's beyond anything. And actually, I would suggest that what will happen, even if I change speaking, and even if I go to saying more yous, which is what you didn't like and what you wanted to leave, you won't mind, because the heart is resonating with this subject. So what happens is that you'll be pulled back to me anyway, and you'll begin to realize that the intellectual words, and that's not really what's important. What's important is this innocence that's experiencing this now.
Shall I respond to that?
Okay. I like the smile on your face.
That's your interpretation.
But can I just say, when I said the heart stuff, You have to watch this back on YouTube to know it. But when I said it, you went like this. Like, and I almost interpreted it like, oh, this is getting a bit close. Like you went, oh, like almost getting air, like, oh, like a woman would like fan herself.
The body language.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll get back to that. That is your interpretation of what you think I am, like what's happening to me.
Yeah.
But I remember when I started speaking to you last year only, in the mid of last year. But when I started Skyping to you, the message that you gave to me when I asked you the question of, you said that words don't matter and mind don't matter, but I just wanted to share with you. When I asked you, what should I do in this so-called dream journey? You replied back saying, doing happens. And I actually told Julie for your second book, I mean, when there's a lot of questioning about what should be the title.
Yeah.
Put the title of the book as, instead of love, 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 it's like there are so many love around. Put the title as doing happens, because that probably could be the message which could prevent the fourth world war or third world war. Doing happens was a word given to me, which many speakers, many teachers, many gurus, many, probably Vedic rishis or Adi Shankara or Osho, so many people could have said that in so many different ways, and it would have got slipped into the verbal, things that they were talking. But your message was very crisp. Doing happens. And you said, if you understood what I said by doing happens, quote unquote, you wouldn't be asking me. This happened, and for about a few days or a week, I was like perturbed as to, you're very strict. And I thought, my God, I mean, she's like very strict and very strict master material. I shouldn't respond in some stupid way where, that connection is lost. But then it slowly sunk into me. Maybe that key opened my heart.
Yeah.
And then the resonance happened. But that was the key.
Yeah.
That
That's
word
really
was key.
beautiful. And I find that really beautiful, my answer, that doing happens, because that is true. Doing always happens. There isn't actually an independent doer. And
There is no doer. Yeah. But that was a message given through talk.
Oh, well, that's what you think.
You can say, there was a silent transmission. That's what, people say. For example, a lot of gurus and disciples, they go and meet somebody.
Couldn't there even be a silent transmission in those words? The doing happens. Like, it's just this happening way beyond anything that we can possibly think about.
Had this happened to me without you typing those words on Skype, doing happen, then that is understood. That's a scientific reason, cause and effect. But the word struck was doing happens.
Yeah.
Then you relate that with the doing happens.
But it does. Even if I were to say to you, okay, Elango, go into your feelings and feel your feelings, you think that I'm prescribing something to you, but that's not true. There is a flow of energy like the wind blowing the tree.
Correct.
There is nobody giving any message to anybody here. There isn't. Even if I say the word you or do this or do that, it's impossible for me as an independent entity to give you an independent answer. There is a flow of energy happening, and that's it, always. Whether I say you or not you, there is energy moving. And I say this note and you say that note, just like a piano,
Yeah.
happening. So this note happens, an off chord happens, and then another chord happens, and another chord.
Yeah. But again, before Bali, you were like us.
Yeah.
After Bali, there has been a shift in that.
Yeah.
And you speak from a dimension of that oneness. Whatever.
I wouldn't exactly say it's me, but that's okay.
And whatever entity is speaking to, whatever entity is speaking across this. I just got lost.
That's the best time.
I'll just get back to that. Yeah. That oneness or whatever is there is talking. I lost the track.
That's okay. It's actually a really nice feeling when you lose your track and not living in that mental dimension.
No, I was wanting to ask you about again how to put together this discrepancy. This is it. I got it. See, you speak from infinity, which is one whole.
Yeah.
Probably what the Indians called it as Brahman, one thing which acts. That's what happened to you after Bali. But to us, we are still in a multidimensional space-time world where there is a cause and effect. As you told, suppose you say, pass me the sugar, I'm going to pass you the sugar. There's a cause and effect. And when you said doing happens and there's a shift in me and slowly it happened. How to reconcile to us who are in the pre-Bali phase of our life that there is an apparent cause and effect in a dualistic world? This is the question. There is an apparent cause and effect.
I wouldn't even try to reconcile it. I wouldn't even try to. It's just a complete surrender to not knowing. Whatever is said. So this person says that, this person says that, and when there's a resonance and an opening, that's all that's what's happening. Like, I wouldn't even try to reconcile it. You never will be able to get your head around all of this. I remember after Bali, there was settling down in this body-mind mechanism, and it's still going on, this settling down and this integration of that profound shift that happened. But after Bali, I remember the first thoughts that were coming up I remember the first thought that came up was, nobody was right. None of the speakers were right. Like, which one was right? There was none that was right. This doesn't even touch the way that people phrased it in words. And then even for a little while, the mind oscillated, because the mind had a lot of digesting to go. The thought processes oscillated between what was right and wrong. Because there was nothing that was right, nothing that I'd ever heard or that had ever been spoken about with non-duality fitted with this. And then there was the mind, the thought processes that came up, and then it sort of just dissolved in that you will never know. There is nothing that can ever be right. And one of the most, even the whole time that I've been speaking, I've always really hit hard on that the intellect can never get this. The first chapter, or the introduction to for the love of everything, for the love of everything, the first chapter is that you can't understand this, you can't get this in a concept. The concepts are simply, the speaking is simply an excuse for the resonance to happen.
But you did get across with the language. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That is what I'm trying to tell you. Though you do say this is beyond the mind, you got across to me with the mind when you said doing happens. Otherwise, whatever shift which has happened within me should have happened without you telling anything to me.
No, that's an idea. That's just an idea. I know that sounds like a very logical idea, but it's an idea. It's not that you could be sitting, it couldn't have been any other way. I had to say that, and there had to be that energy, that deconstruction that happened there.
Deconstruction. But in the space-time world, there is a cause and effect, apparent cause and effect. So the cause was you telling me that, and the effect was this.
Yeah.
That is what I'm asking you. How do I reconcile with that?
Well, you can't.
It appears to be like two totally different worlds we are living in. That's why a lot of times I had asked you, but you never answered that question. It's like being a schizophrenia, split mind. No, it's like certain computers have a Mac system operating and a Windows system. Certain computers have that. They are not Windows or Mac. They have two compartments. So when you enter this phase of non-duality, it's like there is a oneness, and then you go to work every day, do the routines of life, where there is a cause and effect. You push the lift button and the lift goes to the ground floor.
Yeah.
You can't say with energy let the lift go to the ground floor. Can it? Can you do that? There appears to be a cause and effect which is shouting at you every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Seems to be.
So unless I press the computer
there seems to
button,
be us two talking, and then there seems to be an effect of us two talking.
Right. Yeah. Unless I press the computer button, the computer is not going to light up.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
How can it light up without a cause and effect and me staying like this? It's going to happen without the mind.
No, I wasn't saying that at all. It seems to appear in cause and effect. So it seems that I say these things and that they have an effect.
My question is exactly that. How do I reconcile by being in a space-time in a dual world of cause and effect? And ultimately, the Bali to happen in me. Though I do understand
I
it's
just
not.
don't think that you will be able to reconcile it, but I think it's the giving up of the attempt too. That this doesn't make sense and that this is full of contradictions and that the mind isn't a sufficient tool to understand anything. It really
But
isn't.
my mind understood
I don't think your mind did. I think it broke a hole in your mind.
something. I don't know.
A crack
But
happened
but that word, but
and the
that
light got
word
in.
do. No, no. The word doing happens is so simple. It's so simple,
Yeah.
but it is so profound.
Yeah.
I don't think the human race can be given any other message apart from this. If somebody can understand the word doing happens, then everything is understood. There is one. Life is a verb. It's understood what so many people have been talking about.
Yeah.
It's like a river flowing loud. So talking so many big, like I don't know, Heraclitus or somebody from Greece, that you can't take water from the same river again. So life flows.
Yeah.
So when you say doing happens, there is no doer, there's only action. So
Yeah.
everything becomes just one.
Yeah.
That happens through the mind. Why are we saying the mind is not important? That's what I was trying to ask you.
Well, I don't know if I'm
Mind is
saying the mind isn't important, but I'm just saying you keep saying how do I reconcile that there is
reconcile.
nobody and that there is nobody acting and that there is no cause and effect, and then on the other side that there is cause and there does seem to be cause and effect, and that there does seem to be me saying prescription, but ultimately there isn't, and I'm saying there is no that you can't reconcile that.
Reconciliation.
It's a total contradiction. It's beautiful. You just can't get there with the mind.
But the mind is what turned me towards you.
So you think.
I have read so many books, and then this two words of English language, which is not like Shakespearean,
Yeah.
it's not like Hamlet and Macbeth. I mean, it's not like thou speaketh or something like that. It's like saying doing happens.
Yeah.
And something, and that went in and sunk, and everything, like it was like a catalyst to some chemical reaction. Everything came into place, crystallized, saying that's it. That's it, baby.
Yeah.
And then whatever you says is easily understood. It's like removing all the barriers, like saying
But
the
if you
freedom
really,
is
if you understand that doing happens, you can also understand that it doesn't matter if I say you can't do
doesn't
anything
matter.
or you can
Doesn't
do
matter.
something.
No. Doesn't matter. But what I was trying to actually convey across to you is, for a person like me, a seeker, that word resonated. So there are so many seekers still listening to you. I mean, throughout the world and increasing. So if that message, that direct message is given, maybe you'll be breaking them rather than, talk about the prescriptions where it may not break the shell. That's what I was thinking. Because there are a lot of people to give prescriptions, from doctors to therapists
Yeah.
to psychologists to psychiatrists who don't know what life is about. Whereas you are just hitting it on the head.
Yeah.
If that message is kept on being driven and again, I was just thinking that would produce more of ripples. That was what I was trying to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me what you talk.
Yeah. It
I
doesn't
think I
matter
have
to
come to a
me either.
no return. Come to a point of no return, sort of. Like it's irreversible.
Yeah.
The end of story. The last slide has come. It's just a matter of living the rest of whatever is going to happen.
Yeah. Nice. Well, Elango, I'm going to go now. It's 8:30. But I shall see you in Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. 5 days at the airport in Chennai.
5:30.
At 5:30. Yes. I will send Sundar, is that his name? A message now. I must remember to do that.
Sundar.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you, Elango. Nice to speak with you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for calling.
So thanks, guys. Nice to speak with you all on Christmas evening. I shall see you on Wednesday. Thanks, guys. Bye.